it's interesting that those rejections kind of push you towards where you need to go.
Yes.
Right? Because we always look at those obstacles and those issues and those things as like a rejection of yourself, which they feel like at the time, but a lot of the time you're kind of destined for something else.
That is exactly right. And that's how I see it now.
Yeah.
Just walking through the city with my suitcase. I'm not staying for a trip. I'm just staying for a few hours to tape an interview. This time, Julian McMahon is interviewing me. I'm the guest. So I'm walking over to the Westgate, New York, and I'm going to stay a while.
Hey everybody, Julian McMahon here. Julian McMahon from Really Famous Podcast. Okay, we have turned the tables here today. Kara is my guest as opposed to me being hers. So get ready, it's going to be fun. Okay, so I wanted to start really simple. Probably for my own kind of benefit, because this is my first time doing this kind of thing, but also because I wanted to get to know you a little bit, and I thought it would be interesting for your audience to get to know you a little bit as well. Does that
I
work
love
for
it.
you? Okay, so firstly, I have to ask you. You always pick up the phone, Kara.
Yeah, I do.
Kara, yeah. It's Kara. This is
Oh,
Kara.
yeah, I do.
Yeah. And then I'm interested in your pronunciation because I would do I think I'd do Kara, but that's kind of an English, British, Australian thing. What, Kara?
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
Kara? Where's that?
Okay, so first of all, I could see when you did the intro before, I saw you look at me when you said my name as if hoping that it was right. It was right. That's how I say it.
No, because I listen. I've heard you say it so many times.
Yes.
But
right.
I think I may have pronounced it incorrectly before, and I was wondering where it comes from. And
so my parents named me after a Kara that they knew.
Right.
So really close friends of theirs had a daughter and they named her Kara.
Right.
And I don't know if they just like that name or whatever, but that's what they named me. And then when we would get together, she would be big and I would be little.
Oh,
so
cute.
we'd call each other big and little. But
so you actually met the Kara?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her in years, but we do know each other.
Right.
So, and sometimes my dad will email her accidentally instead of me.
Oh, that's funny.
He'll start typing in Kara.
Hey, listen, go get the mail.
Right.
You're the Kara.
Right. Listen, I've had it with you, Kara. And she'll email back. Yeah, this is wrong.
This time you're going to do as you're told.
Right, exactly. People call me Kara, Kara.
Right.
I accept it all.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so we're going to start at the beginning, like the very beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in New Jersey,
Okay.
girl all the way.
Yep.
In the suburbs, second child, second of two only. Nice little family with two teachers as parents. My dad was a school social worker and my mom was an elementary school teacher way back when. So yeah, born in the hospital, regular, again, no big story there, and grew up in the same little town outside of New York City for 18 years. My parents are still there. My parents live in the same house.
They're still in the same house?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Very stable life I had.
Yeah, good for you.
Which is why I like to go off and have adventures.
You are adventurous, I know that. But we'll get to that a little bit later. You know what my question was meant to be was living in Jersey, so growing up in Jersey. So like growing up in Sydney, I grew up on the outside of Sydney, but it's only a few minutes and you go to town to do something, whatever it is, right?
Okay.
Did you come into Manhattan as a kid?
Yeah, definitely. So my parents would bring me in, not that often, but for sure. I think there are plenty of people in the suburbs who never venture into the city, but my parents always brought me in for different things. So we would go to Broadway shows, for example. We would go to Chinatown to eat. My grandparents lived in the Bronx, so we would go see them. That's a little different. You know, you're going over the George Washington Bridge, and instead of going into Midtown, to the south, you go north into the Bronx, and that's entirely different. But so we would go in to see them regularly. But my parents were big on like arts and culture, and bringing us in as kids. So yeah, it wasn't new to me, but I didn't really get to know it until I was an adult. Yeah.
And so like when you're a teenage kid or whatever that period of time is, I don't know what it is in America, but at some point in time when you start going out to bars and stuff, did you come and go out to bars? Did you sneak into New York?
Didn't. I honestly didn't.
You're a good girl.
I know. I was so good that I kept it all in town. You know, all my partying in town.
All right. That's funny.
So good.
I can imagine sneaking into this city and just being like,
yeah.
I mean.
Well, we did. After the prom, we would all go into the city.
Okay.
So it was like a planned thing. So we'd have our prom, which would be in New Jersey, and then our party bus or limos, depending on which prom it was, would take all the kids from the prom, and we'd go to either Dangerfields, I think was one of them. I think it was a comedy club. I don't know why.
Rodney Dangerfield's?
I don't even know.
Because he has that place in Midtown, right?
What was it? His place?
Yeah.
I mean, it should have been with the name like Dangerfields.
Dangerfields is his comedy.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still there.
So I feel like that was one of the places, and there was one other. And you're making me remember this now. When I had my sweet 16, when I turned 16, I have an older sister, and she had a big party when she did, but I was never a party person. So I chose instead to take 3 of my friends. My parents paid for a limo, and 3 of my friends into the city to see, I'm pretty sure we saw a play, but I don't remember what it was. Like, I want to say, I never saw it though. I'm mixing things up in my mind. I want to say it was A Chorus Line, but I think A Chorus Line was long gone by the time I turned 16. And I'm sure I never saw it, but I used to have the tape, like the cassette tape.
You think
See,
you
you're
might have
learning
seen
all
it.
these things about me that you would never ask about these
This
things.
was too easy, way too easy.
But these are things you're tapping into things that I don't even think about. But yeah, so I used to, when I was growing up, I used to dance in my room with the cassette tapes, and A Chorus Line was one of them.
Right.
I loved that tape, but I know I never saw it, so I have no idea what we actually
cassette
saw.
Tapes.
Yeah.
How awesome were cassette tapes?
Yeah. Where they would get stuck and like rip and things, get all twisted.
How frustrated. Remember the cart thing came in, you put them in the cart thing, you'd be like,
yeah, and you have a pencil
and you'd be so
to
upset
twist
because
the
there
thing.
goes your music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I had this question that I wanted to ask you, but I kind of feel like we've kind of gone around it a little bit. But when you look back at your childhood and you growing up, what's your kind of favorite kind of standout memory of what that was like? I
feel like I was just really lucky to land in the family that I landed in. Like, my parents are so healthy and communicative and supportive and loving. And so it was really just a very comfortable and happy childhood.
Oh, that's so nice.
So just overall,
so you always felt safe and secure,
always.
and communication was open, so you could talk about whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great.
I mean, I kept things to myself. Also, there are certain
things.
things.
You got to grow up on,
Exactly.
You can't grow up being open about everything. I don't think you have to kind of have your own bits, right?
Sure,
your own things
sure.
that are.
It's interesting because just recently I was talking to my daughter about this the other night, how I realized that certain things that people would say to me when I was growing up, if it like, I would, I mean, it's such a long story. I don't really want to get into the whole thing, but like if somebody would say something that wasn't so nice to me as a kid, I was growing up, you know, and I'd be like, I would just keep it to myself. I never talked about it with anybody. And I didn't realize that can make you actually keep the memory longer and make it once you, when you internalize
kind of thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I remember
I kind of like testing that theory a bit of like keeping something in versus getting it out. I kind of think getting it out quicker is better.
I think so.
Right?
I mean, as a therapist, I can tell you that's definitely better.
Yeah.
When it's inside.
That's what I always say to my family, because I'm, they're always like, "Oh, you got so upset about that or whatever," and I go, "I got it out. I'm good."
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Trust me, I'm good within minutes.
I say it. I say what I feel. I do almost all the time.
Yeah.
And so if you see me saying something, maybe you think I'm upset or whatever. It's like, great, then I'm done.
What I've had to learn is how you affect other people. Right? Particularly once you have kids, you got to be cautious. You have to be a little careful of what you say and how you say it.
Sure.
I've had to learn how to kind of, it's just certainly a trickier thing once you have kids. Okay, jumping ahead, time frame wise, where'd you go to college?
University of Florida.
Florida, which is in Miami?
Gainesville.
Oh, Gainesville. Okay. University of Miami. Okay, Gainesville.
It's in the middle of Florida.
Right.
Like, not where I would normally choose to live, but that was really the school to go to.
Okay, why was it the school to go to?
So I wanted to go to a really big school, and that's the biggest.
What's it, 30,000?
Probably 40,000 when I went. I wanted that. And as I said, I wanted adventure because I'm growing up in this stable place. And I always felt like I did not belong in New Jersey. I'm like, I felt I belonged in California the whole time growing up. Maybe not the whole time, but maybe middle school and older.
Right.
So I felt California and not a cold weather fan. And so I knew I wanted to go somewhere warm.
Okay.
My parents were like, California is really too far.
Yeah, it is far.
But you can go to Florida.
Okay.
So UF
no compromising, get to see each other. Yeah.
Yeah. So UF had the best reputation at that point.
Okay.
In terms of quality of education. So people here had no idea what the University of Florida was, but everybody in Florida knew, like, oh, if you go to the University of Florida, you're good.
Yeah.
So that's where I went.
Okay, cool. And now 40,000, why did you want to go to such a large school?
Choices, options, people, busyness. I didn't like being in a small town with not a lot of people choices.
What to do, I guess. And, okay.
Nothing to do. Well, that's my issue now. I don't like my but people choices. I was like, who are these kids? I mean, now I'm going to insult my entire town. If you don't fit in a small school, you don't fit in. Yeah, and I mean, I didn't feel like I didn't fit in necessarily, but I didn't like the people I was around.
Right.
By and large. And there are exceptions. And I'm going to name one. I'm going to shout out one right now. Sharon Velasquez, this is for you. We just reunited again after many years of not being in touch. But she was one of my best friends. She was really my best friend growing up when I was very young. We lost touch. But now we're back in touch.
And then she went to the same college or?
No, we lost touch. She went to, I think, California, San Francisco, I want to say. Moved back to New York, worked here, but I was not in touch with her then. Okay. And now she's in Austria. With her husband and her kids. As
you would.
Yes, as you
California,
would. And
New
that's
York,
when
California,
we got
Austria.
back in. Right, exactly.
I like it.
Her husband's family's from there. Or he's from there.
Okay.
So, yeah, I just wanted more.
They like skiing?
Do I like skiing?
Do they like skiing?
Do they like skiing?
There's some good skiing over there.
Probably.
Okay.
I think she likes ice skating. I think she took her kids ice skating and told me about it.
Okay. In Austria?
Yeah.
Sounds kind of very,
good.
Appropriate. Yeah. No, what's the... Oh my God.
Romantic, idyllic, beautiful.
I'm blanking on the whole thing. What's the Fantastic Austrian Family, the movie?
Oh, the Sound of Music.
Sound of Music.
I don't know. What's their family name?
What's the family name? Trapp.
Von Trapp.
Von Trapp family. Now they have their house. Excuse us. Hopefully you won't get to see how my memory works. But the Von Trapp family house, when they left and came to the U.S., is still upstate New York.
Yes.
In the Catskills.
Yes. I do think I knew that factoid.
Right.
And you can stay there, right?
And you can stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hotel.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of fun. Okay, so when you finished college, did you go straight to work? You take some time off, or what was your first job?
So do you want to know what I graduated with? What degree?
Yeah.
You want to guess?
Psychology?
Nope.
No?
This is why I'm having you guess, because you're not going to guess.
Oh, okay. French?
No. I did take French, though, growing up. That was my language.
Okay. What did you...
Accounting.
Accounting? No, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Right.
Okay, fascinating.
So I studied accounting, and I was terrible at it.
Okay.
Did not like it at all.
Okay.
Had no idea what I was doing, but I did make it through, and it was one of the top accounting schools in the country. It was like top 8 accounting schools or something. But for some reason, I made it through by the skin of my teeth, but I knew I didn't want to practice accounting. And I had these business classes. So I can go into business, finance, something like that. So I got a job with a bank, SunTrust, in Orlando.
Orlando, Florida.
Florida, working in commercial banking. So there was this training. It's basically for college grads from all around the country. They took in these kids, trained us all about like business credit or whatever. And we had to, it was so boring. But then they sent us to different parts of the bank to see what we would like. I really didn't like any of them. So I lasted just about a year. And that was it. And then I was like, this is not, and also corporate life was not for me.
In what way?
Every way.
Okay.
Like, who wants to do that? Go into a building day after day for hours and hours. Of course, certain jobs are great like that. Jack, my intern, just got a job. It's going to be, I'm really happy for him. And I don't want to turn you off from from that.
No, it's fantastic going to an office building day after day. Don't listen to her.
Speaking of not fitting in, I did not fit in with that class of, we were called management associates.
Right.
They were all so into learning about business and whatnot.
Okay, and that didn't.
And I was like,
you.
this is not for me.
Right.
So it was so boring, honestly. And I knew I had to do something else. And I was getting sick of the heat in Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In summertime or the whole time?
The whole time. I lived there a little bit over a year. And I was like, I need something else. This is not the life I want here. And I knew that my passion was always in film and television.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, something has to change. And I flew back home for a weekend. And I think my dad had a friend whose daughter was in the film industry. And he's like, just go meet with her. And I talked to her. And it was September. It was a beautiful day. It was like the weather was so much better than it was in Florida. And walking around the city, thinking about possibilities, I'm like, that's it for me. I'm coming back home. So I moved back here, but I didn't have a job.
Okay.
And then I'll walk you right through it. So I didn't have a job. I did interview with a guy who, this is so random, he made infomercials. He was an editor, and he said, I'll give you a job. I'll teach you editing, everything you would ever want to know about editing, for $19,000 a year.
He's going to pay you, or you're going to pay him?
He's going to pay me.
Okay.
But it's practically the same thing. It's practically I'm paying him because I couldn't afford to even live here for $19,000 a year.
Absolutely.
I couldn't even make it to work and back.
Right.
So I turned it down.
Okay.
And then I went looking for a job wherever. And I got myself a job at Comedy Central.
Oh, wow.
But because I was in business, it was a business job.
Okay.
So I worked in the ad sales department, crunching numbers.
Okay.
And it was Comedy Central. So it was cool.
Yeah.
And I met some of the talent. The Daily Show was just starting.
Oh, great show.
But it was Craig Kilborn.
Yeah.
And they were calling it The Daily Show as like a placeholder.
Right.
Because they didn't know what they were going to name it.
Yeah.
And it was a fun group of people. I was bored stiff, though, doing these numbers.
Doing what you were doing, yeah.
So I would sit in my little office, and I'd turn on the radio. This is what you could do at Comedy Central. Right. And I would listen to a radio psychologist, a call-in show like Frasier.
Yeah.
Where people would call in with their problems.
Yeah.
And she would give them, it was Dr. Joy Brown, and she would give them advice. I loved listening to that.
Yeah.
And when I wasn't listening to that, people would come in, my coworkers would come in, sit in my office, put their feet up on my desk, and tell them their problems. And I was like, well, this is fun too. And that's when I decided to go to grad school and study psychology.
Wow. What an interesting kind of journey to get there.
Yeah. And at the time, I remember I was watching TV Land a lot at home.
Yeah.
The Bob Newhart show was on reruns.
Oh, God. Yeah.
He was a psychiatrist. I mean, they were a little extreme.
It was kind of coming at you, wasn't it?
It was coming at me.
Yeah.
All signs pointed to yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, doing it.
Love it.
Applied to grad school, went to grad school.
Yeah. And where'd you go to grad school?
Columbia.
Columbia, okay.
Went to Columbia. Felt like an imposter.
Why is that?
You know, Columbia, it's an Ivy League school.
So?
Yeah, but
you're an Ivy League gal. If you get in, you get in.
Never thought of myself that way.
Okay.
So, go get my master's, and then I start working as a therapist.
So when you've studied something else, and graduated with something else, and you go get your master's with something completely different, how does that work?
So first of all, everybody rejected me. Most schools were like, yeah, no, thank you. You have no accounting. I mean, you have no psychology background. So at first I was applying to doctorate programs, which are 5-year programs to become like a real deal psychologist. Now I'm calling myself not a real deal therapist, but I never call myself a psychologist. Anyway, so
don't question it.
But I do like to tell everybody, like I was just saying the other day, I've been rejected from so many people, places, whatever it is in my life, like trying to get certain things, but that's how you get places.
Yeah, for sure.
So some of the schools, University of Miami was not interested in me for grad school. Because I was an accounting major undergrad. They're like, well, that's a big investment, I guess. There were a couple of smaller schools in Florida I applied to. these are not good schools. But I did not get into their PhD programs. Columbia wanted me and NYU wanted me.
Why?
Right?
I don't know.
Well, it's funny because I was talking to my son about this the other day, and I feel like, I didn't get certain jobs at places that were really low places. Like I remember when I graduated, I tried to get a job at the local psychiatric hospital. They didn't want me. So it's like so interesting that like crummy job like that I couldn't get, but much bigger and better things I have gotten. So I wonder if part of it is that the people who were on the committee at Columbia or NYU, maybe they have a different vision, like almost a sharper vision of what somebody's potential is, you know, or that there are possibilities. Maybe it's not so like there's a strict, no, you have to get your 4-year undergrad degree and you have to do this and that's what you do next. Like maybe it's a little bit more of a critical thinking. That's just a theory. I don't know.
No, I like it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting that those rejections kind of push you towards where you need to go.
Yes.
Right? Because we always look at those obstacles and those issues and those things as like a rejection of yourself, which they feel like at the time, but a lot of the time you're kind of destined for something else.
That is exactly right. And that's how I see it now. Yeah. I see a lot of things like that as thank God because this is or this was what led me to where I was really
if you had spent a year over there, you never would have come over here. Yeah.
If one of those schools in Florida accepted me as a PhD candidate,
we wouldn't be sitting here now. I don't think so.
We would not. And thank God we're sitting here. I couldn't be happier about it.
That's great.
That's so much better than if I were just sitting in an office day after day. You know, here we go back to that office theme, a different kind, but this is what I was meant to do.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving forward once again. I'm interested. So nowadays podcasts, there's plenty of them, right?
Oh yeah.
There seems like every movie that comes out or everything has a podcast attached, a lot of TV shows. But when you started really famous, it was kind of early on in the podcast piece, right? So what was it that attracted you to the podcast platform at such a kind of early time?
That's a good question, and nobody's ever asked me that before. So I feel like it was an early time, but it was like just on the cusp of becoming saturated, which is where it is now, I think. So my husband was an early adopter of podcasts. He listened.
Okay.
Early.
Right.
So I remember he used to always want me, you should listen to podcasts, you'll love them. He would tell my dad the same thing. Podcasts, believe me, because my dad was a big radio person. Listener. He loved radio. And so I remember I finally started listening and I loved these podcasts, these long form conversations. I loved them, but I never thought about doing them. I was a writer at that point. So skipping ahead, I kind of, while I had my therapy practice, I also started freelance writing on the side. So I was writing for the parenting magazines and then health and fitness magazines. And then I started writing like celebrity profiles and whatnot. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Hollywood Reporter, Emmy magazine. So I was starting to move in kind of that direction and a little bit away from therapy because I really liked that. And then it's like that whole media industry started changing and magazines were just starting to fold and the ones that didn't fold, they became thinner and then all the fees that we would get paid just shrunk. So I was like, this is not good. So I need to pivot. And it was my husband who said, you should start a podcast. And I said, that's ridiculous. But I did. And that's so I got in.
And so so you start a podcast. Actually, you know what? Let's continue with something else first. And I'm going to ask you that question.